You've just started selling on Whatnot, or you've been killing it, but you don't know how much money you're making, and you don't know how to do proper bookkeeping. Let me show you how I do Whatnot bookkeeping. I'm Johnny Petrucco. I file taxes for sports card businesses, and I'm a QuickBooks Pro advisor. So I have experience in all kinds of accounting and bookkeeping, but specifically with sports card businesses and those that use Whatnot, there are a couple secrets that I think everyone should know. Firstly, we know that Whatnot is a fairly young company. They have not built out a very robust bookkeeping and finance aspect. I'm not aware of any integrations. Maybe someone is and you can let me know. Just like there are integrations for PayPal, eBay, Shopify for common bookkeeping systems. And so this means there's a little bit of a manual approach. And I've developed a little process that I want to walk you through on how I can track the Whatnot fees, the shipping, the giveaway shipping, and other aspects that you want to track on a regular basis. Okay, I'll share my screen and show you Whatnot, how I export into Excel, and what I do on Excel to create a journal entry in QuickBooks. Let me show you. Here I have one of my clients' Whatnot dashboard, and we're all familiar, for those that use Whatnot, on how this dashboard works, but hey, where are your fees and your expenses that you can deduct? Because what's important is at the end of the year, whether you're connected through PayPal payouts or Stripe to your bank account, you will receive a 1099, and that's gross. They're not including the Whatnot fees. So the process I show you is quite important. And you know, they have been improving. I've noticed certain things that Whatnot is adding, which is wonderful. They even have a report for 2024. I'm gonna hop to that right now. You know, for 2024, this is a nice add-on. You know, they now have broken down your earnings and your fees and costs and payouts and so forth. However, what about on a month-to-month or quarterly basis when you're tracking it? And if you do this throughout the year, then you can kind of match it up and just compare and make sure it looks good when 2025 ends. But I'm going to walk you through March 2025. So I put those dates in here, and I'm going to come back to this for my spreadsheet. I'm going to use this as my gross sales that I'm comparing it to. So next I go to the ledger, and we want to, that's on finances over here. Then we look at edit dates. And this is where you can select your previous month or quarter. Okay. And then update and then export data. So this is going to give me a spreadsheet, and I copy this spreadsheet. I have this kind of master, little bit of a crazy spreadsheet here, but you'll see I'm kind of I've been adding on, you know, for a number of months. Let me jump all the way down here. I copied and pasted this March data, and you'll see that these columns are added. So what I'll do is I'll copy it down here, and then I'll just move those two columns over, and I have you can make a formula here, or I guess I'll just copy 2025 and then put March or April for next month, and then category. This is the main thing. This is going to be the driver because I'm creating a pivot table that you'll see in a moment, but this is also from the export, and here we go. So I like to categorize when I go over here and I look at the detail. I'll filter for everything that says earnings, and I'll put that as a category for earnings, and then I'll filter for giveaway. There's also a shipping adjustment. I'll type that in, and you'll see over here, these are all for shipping. Sometimes there's some ads over here, promotion ads. So there's a couple categories that I'll do, and there's the tips I put into earnings. Okay, so I have a little process for that. But over here, once you kind of categorize everything, I am using these pivot tables. And so you always have to change the pivot table data source for extending the table as I add new data, and then refresh it, and I can filter by the month. And so that's what I have here. And these are, you know, the main different categories that I put in there already. And then I have my little journal entry. So in accounting, I love, you know, my debits and credits, but you'll see eventually this is what I'm going to put into QuickBooks. And we have the total net earnings. This is like not necessarily payouts. There's always going to be a variance here because it depends on when you trigger and pull the payment, and there's always going to be a delay. You'll see for March, right, the payouts is less than earnings, but in February the payouts are more. And so it's a timing issue. And that's something that we just put as a receivable, and that balance will just flip-flop each month. But what I'm tying it to is from the Whatnot dashboard. So I take that number and I'm going to credit sales, and that's the number I'm trusting each month. And then I know what the actual earnings were. This is the sales minus the fees. And I put that there as a receivable, and that's going to be my account that balances each month. And my Whatnot fees will be the difference between the shipping and receivable. So shipping, thankfully Whatnot, you don't normally pay shipping. In certain cases you do with the adjustments and the giveaways. So unfortunately, we're paying that giveaway shipping. But here's the formula. And then my fees, it's good. It's usually, around 13%. So you can see month to month. I just like to track that just to make sure it looks pretty accurate. It's technically 8% plus 2.9% and 30 cents. So that 30 cents usually brings it up to, in this client's case, about 13 or so percent. If you're selling higher dollar items, then your percentage will go down to maybe 12%. But that's for this case. Now let's jump over how I would use this in QuickBooks. And another time I can explain more, and please reach out to me if you want a hold of this spreadsheet, or if you have specific questions. I'm just breezing through right now and not explaining the accounting, but I just want to show you now what I did here is going to be translated onto my QuickBooks. So we have my QuickBooks, there is the journal entry date, and then I have an account for Whatnot receivable, have an account for Whatnot fees and shipping, and then sales. So I'm applying that journal entry once a month, and then you can see my descriptions. It kind of explains what's going on there, and you save it and post it to the books, and that will be reliable so you can run your numbers on a monthly basis. So that's how you, in a short, brief way, get your Whatnot sales and your fees into your bookkeeping system. Reach out. Feel free to schedule a free consultation with me, and would love to hear your situation and see how I can help you. But until next time, at Sports Card Tax Guy, we help our clients trade their IRS stress for financial success. See you next time.